My name is David Goodfellow. Hello. If you're anything like me, you'd be wondering why on earth you should be listening to me. So I might start at the end and then go back to the beginning. I'm one of the founding members of the Kindness Offensive. We are the world's largest performers of random acts of kindness. What does that mean? It means that over the last 2 years, we've given away over £2.5 million worth of goods, working with over 35 different charities, and also randomly to people who've asked and people who haven't asked. We are supported by the Conservative Party, most notably Boris Johnson, and by the Labour Party. Lots of the cabinet members support us. We are one of the biggest people on YouTube right now, the most watched in the world. People like watching people be nice to each other, apparently. We are internationally covered. We've been on all the major news networks across America, across China, across India. I think it's fair to say that there is no other group individually, or even all of the rest of the kindness crowd put together, that kind of match us for volume or just sheer brightness when we go out and do our thing. So that's who I am and what we do. And I'm going to talk. We've only got about half an hour of your time, so it's going to be a kind of condensed, potted version. I will say, if you want any more detail, I'll take questions while I'm doing it, but not like a million, so one or two. Might shut you down. If you do have if you'd like to see any of it, we're going to play you one video that's kind of a bit of a history. There's loads of stuff on the internet everywhere, so just Google Kindness Offensive and you can fill in any blanks that you like, really. Okay, how did it all begin, and how did I arrive to be talking to you today? I'm a rude boy. Yeah, I don't know if any of you know what that means, but I grew up as one of those kids with the hoodies, and a lot of the positive thinking stuff that's out there in the world about visualization and seeing the world in a certain way, all seemed to add up to stuff that didn't really matter to me. I don't want my chakras realigned. I don't like chanting. I'm not quite attached to the things that I own. I kind of want some more of them. So none of this seemed to really make a hill of beans to me. It didn't seem to make sense. And my friends and I were all philosophy students. I've got an MA in philosophy and in economics, and a lot of the kind of stuff that is out there in terms of positive thinking all seemed a bit wishy-washy to me. It didn't seem to stand up to rigorous intellectual cross-examination. Trust me, we cross-examined and cross-examined. There was one guy in my circle of friends who kind of dared us to try out some of these positive thinking ideas. And there's lots of different kind of permutations and variations on this, but essentially the central idea, as we understand it, is that you can change the world by changing your mind. That you don't have to take the world spoon-fed and it doesn't come to meet you, it rises to your perception. And so on some level that you are the person who creates the things that you see. Horseshit, right? Okay, so that's what we thought, all of us. We were like, nah, that can't be right. It's an empirical reality. It's out there. It happens, and you have to navigate it. Like when you're in your car, you can't drive into the building and expect it to disappear. You've got to go around it. Rob was insistent that we had a go at this, and it was only to silence him that we had a go at this. It took a while. In practical terms, a lot of the stories of the people who do this kind of mental work are people who live in circumstances that are a million miles away from where we are. They live in countrysides. Buddha's a good example of a guy who wandered around with a bowl, and that's not me. So this is not going to happen. And a lot of these examples of these kind of people who do this kind of stuff are a million miles away from people who wear Nike Air and like flat screen TVs and live in central London. So how on earth does this interface work? And an idea was surfaced, and it was the idea of phoning people up and acting as if and imagining and totally playing the role of them being an amazing person who was about to help us out. And so we picked up the phone. It actually started with a phone call to Domino's Pizzas, believe it or not. And we condensed what we subsequently have become what we call phone whispering rules. Phone whispering is a kind of a bit of a joke name, like the ghost whisperer or the horse whisperer. So the rules of phone whispering are you can't tell a lie because it's a positive spiritual exercise. You have to clearly imagine what it is going on and then act completely in line with that. So with that first phone call, it was that Domino's were going to send us a free pizza. because that's something we actually wanted, and we figured that this would be a valid interface, telephone, and there were actually a way that we could execute some of these ideas. So Rob called them up and tried to imagine what it would be like to receive a free pizza. So how do you feel? You feel happy. I'd like to start off by saying, Domino's, how happy I am to be speaking to you. It's an amazing thing that you're doing here. You are sending out a free pizza. And before we go any further, that's an amazing thing for you to do. Instantly casting the person as the hero. Instantly, in your mind, you've got a scenario. The word paradigm gets abused and overused in my opinion, but it's a frame by which you can view the world, where the person on the end of the phone is an amazing individual capable of making a miraculous thing happen for you that you actually want to have happen. Phone call was a long phone call. It took about 25 minutes, and to his credit, Rob didn't move off the spot. He insisted that it was free, that it was a great thing, that he loved them for doing it, and that it was definitely happening. His faith was completely locked into that pizza arriving. Something really weird happened. The guy who was resisting, it was almost like he got knocked out or something. He just went, yeah, all right. Everyone was sitting there and were like, no way. And it was almost like it instantly just got written off. And like, this is never going to happen. That's free pizza. They're worth about 15 quid, right? That's what they do for a living. It's not going to happen. Knock, knock. Domino's pizza guy arrived. It's actually here. And we can eat. We took a picture of this pizza. I've got it up on my wall. I'll tell you more about what's up on my wall later on. But it was like, oh gosh, like this actually worked. We applied these principles, and we got something that we actually wanted, and it happened tangibly. And Domino's were well happy. That was a surprising thing as well, because you'd imagine in this scenario that they might feel ripped off, that they might feel coerced in some way. They were really happy, and the guy who delivered it was actually really happy. He was like, it's your free pizza! This was not a normal thing for him. So we thought, okay, so at least in one instance, we positively thought about something, and we actually managed to make something happen. Okay, so what did we do? We've got this miraculous technique, we were based on these great spiritual principles, nothing. About 3 months before any of us were able to have a go ourselves. Because it was one of those weird things that, I don't know if you've ever been in the presence of something truly miraculous, but it's very easy to instantly make it normal and to just write it off and say, that's the way things are, and to walk away from it. So it took about 3 months, and then we started to make phone calls, and strange things started to happen. More pizzas started arriving. And everyone in the house, there were 3 of us who lived together, we all started to make call. I can grab myself, I thought I had a glass of water. I could grab myself one. We started making lots and lots of phone calls to all the different places that would deliver anything. And they all sent us everything we wanted. And there was a eureka moment where we thought, wait a minute, maybe positive thinking is good for more than just pizzas and takeaways, right? Maybe we could actually get stuff that we want, tickets to places. Maybe this is a decent method for doing anything else. So we slowly started to use the phone and progress, and we started to get things sent to the house that, you know, this was a stage where we were not the kind of offensive. We were guys goofing around with a technique that was taken from lots of different textbooks, including the Bible, interestingly. Not that I particularly, but it's in there as well, we found subsequently. And things started to appear, and things that we really wanted. Flat screen TVs, stereos, massage chairs, fish tanks, every kind of kitchen equipment you could imagine. Our house suddenly became a bit ridiculous. We all started to take time off work and just call companies all day, because it was a lot more fun and ultimately a lot more profitable as well. Items were arriving that were costing £4,000 or £5,000 a hit, and they were just getting delivered to the door. And all of our friends started to pay attention now, because this became an experiment of note. You know, what's going on? Their house is filling up, they're going to all the best rock concerts, all the best nightclubs for free, 100%, and getting met by the owners and the manufacturers who wanted to shake our hand and say, is your product okay? And did you have a good night? And it was like not just getting stuff for free, it was like we were being met with this really great love from everyone we were speaking to. We suddenly realized that we had everything we wanted, which is a rare place to have arrived. I've never arrived there before, and I don't know if any of you have, but I know subsequently that this is an odd place. Suddenly we looked around our house and we had everything we wanted. We had been everywhere that we wanted to go. And it seemed like a natural next step to kind of take this to the people. And we were very excited. We decided that we were going to go out in public and we were going to take this technique and we were going to talk to strangers and we were going to offer it to them. And I remember the night before, originally we were going to call ourselves What's Your Problem? And we were going to go up and say, excuse me, what's your problem? And, one of my friends came around the night before and he had panic in his eyes and he said, you can't go out on the street and stop people and say, what's your problem? You're going to get your nose broken. So you need a different name for this. And so we brainstormed and we came up with a slightly less ridiculous name, which is the kindness offensive. And my friend did a logo, which is still our logo. He did it on Photoshop in about 20 minutes. And we thought we needed to dress up in some fashion because we wanted to kind of stand out but not be threatening. And it just so happens that we had some hard hats and some high visibility jackets, so we thought at least they'll be able to see us. And it's weird about the high vis and the jackets because it's like you can be seen but you're also part of the scenery because people expect it's got this weird kind of double-edged thing to it. So we walked out onto Parliament Hill, which is a big heath place near. Okay, I thought something might be happening. Yeah, so we walked out on the hill and we started to stop people and explain that we were here to see if we could make anybody's dreams come true. And when we set out, we thought we would maybe get one person, or maybe one person and a safety. We had this kind of idea that it would be a quite low-key thing. 17 people spoke to us, and we had a little form we filled out, which is, what's your dream? And give us a contact number and we'll do our best. And we got home that day and we had 17 and there was a good breadth of stuff. There were people, like one lady had a grandmother, had a sweet tooth, wanted a box of chocolates. Another lady had just finished decorating her kitchen and wanted a blender to go in it. There was a whole kind of spectrum of things that people wanted. The best of which was a guy who wanted a birthday party for his daughter. This is going to be covered in the video, so I won't go into too much detail with it. But so we used our technique, phone whispering, which is just positive visualization, believing that it's already done. And so that means when you phone someone and they say, no, I can't do that for you, you don't give up your belief that it can't be done. It's a bit like if you lose your keys, you keep looking till you find them. You don't look everywhere and then say, oh, I mustn't have any keys. It's just, I can't. No, you know you have keys, so you keep going. So we phoned up company, and something really cool happened. Everyone said yes to us for all 17. So we were then in a position where we were phoning up people saying, we have your chocolates, we have your birthday party, we have your this and the other. And something I now know to be a pattern with positive thinking, I was at the very beginning of understanding it, not even I was just kind of experiencing it as opposed to understanding, is the way that it energizes itself. It's like a perpetual motion machine that grows forward. One of the people on the hill had asked us for a red electric guitar. A little guy called Ollie had a t-shirt on that said Ollie for World Peace. And so we gave him the red electric guitar, but because we made so many calls, we actually ended up with 2 red electric guitars. And so we advertised the second one on Gumtree to give away, and a deluge of people wanted the guitar. And we did actually give it to a wonderful kid called Lucas. But another one of the emails that came in really touched me personally. It was from a refugee who was just relatively new in the country, about a month or so, and he was a musician, and a guitar is how he makes his living and how he expresses himself. And we still had to tell him that we can't give you it, we haven't got it, we've already given it away to this other kid. But what else can we do for you? You sound like you're in a rough spot, so, what gives? And he sent us back this email, and it was kind of mind-boggling. It kind of itemized on it the things that he needs and the things that he gets from soup kitchens. And we're talking like food and toothbrushes and toothpaste. And the one that really kind of stuck in my throat was nappies. They need nappies for children refugees. This is in London, right? This is like 20 minutes away from the front door here, and absolute abject poverty. And they're stuck in this really weird situation because they're waiting to get clearance to be citizens, which means they haven't got the papers they need to work. So they can't work and they can't claim benefit because they're not a citizen. So they're stuck. They either have to break the law or they have to live on handouts. So we're like, okay, this is a serious thing now. Can we actually affect something that's a little less frivolous and do something about this?